Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah!
Sam!
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here this afternoon. McFarlane, thank you for getting my name right. And I've got one back at you. Coffin Vaba. Right, so Depeche Mode, Depeche who spoke earlier, I think we need to have just a discussion with Sam from Sazria because it feels like my brain was hacked because so much of the topics, or so many of the topics have got such a common thread. Even some of the examples are the same from one presenter to the next. So if I do repeat myself, I really think what it means is that we're actually just validating that this is so critical for our industry. So becoming customer-centric. There is an agenda. How do we fit in with our consumers' needs? How do our products and services stand out? And how do we simplify for industry? And I think what's really important here is that when I say our and I say we, I'm talking about us collectively. Because we all have the same end user in mind. When I say our, it's our industry. It's our collective value chain and our collective ecosystem that we all live in. And it's what puts food on our tables at the end of every single night. So let's take a few steps back and understand who our audience is here in terms of our world. First of all, at any given time, we are the service provider and we're the customer. I have service providers as PG Glass, and we are your service provider. You are a service provider to the end customer, and you are customers of ours. And are we factoring that into our customer-centric journey? Because when we look at that value chain and ecosystem, and I think those are certainly buzzwords that have come out of today, so many of the speakers have used the term ecosystem, the value chain. And when we're catering to the needs of our customer, are we taking this into consideration? So what is customer centricity? What does it ultimately mean? It's the culture of prioritization of strategies and practices that create positive experiences for their customers through their communications, their services, and their products. And guys, again, Alex spoke about one of my favorite customer-centric brands. How do we build a customer-centric culture? And to me, Checkers 6060 just gets it right. Every single day, we're all on Zooms and Teams all day long. How many times are you in a meeting and somebody says, "Excuse me, doorbell," and they get back and I go, "Checkers," they go, "Yes." Am I right? All the time. So how do we build a customer-centric culture akin to Checkers as an example? And it's very, very cliched to say it's about having the right people. Very, very cliched. But there's something I really want to talk about in terms of the following example. I've been at PG since January. I'm quite new to it. It's also my first big corporate. I've actually come out of more SMEs in the past. And what I have found fascinating, and I'm sure there are many businesses here, there was a business, Craig, Genesis 25 years, you have what we refer to as oracles, or depending on which side of the table, on the lifers, the guys who've been there from the beginning. And they start when they are doing claims, and they work their way all the way through your business. And they know everything about your business, and it's great. But you got to mix them up with the newbies. Let me tell you, you've got to bring people fresh from outside who haven't been in the same business for the last 25 years so that you can mix up that deep domain knowledge that those lifers or oracles have with the people who come from outside. Put them together in a room, sparks fly, people cry, they argue, they fight, they love each other, but we have to innovate by bringing these two types of environments together. We also need to really have empathy for the problem. And again, this is something that's very, very topical. There have been a lot of buzzwords. I think Florbella mentioned it. There was somebody else who mentioned about really, really understanding the problem. And there are two things here. How do we expect our staff to have empathy when they don't really understand? Such a large proponent of our population gets into a taxi every single day and they go to work. Now, somebody phones your business and they say, I've got a claim. That person's gotten into a taxi. If they've gotten into a taxi, they've never gone into a dealership. If they've never gone into a dealership, they've never purchased a car. If they've never purchased a car, they've never had to go through insurance or financing. They've never had to have a car accident, and therefore they've never had to claim. How do we really, really make sure that our staff understand what our customers face when they phone in? And secondly, the other thing that I think that we need to take into consideration is and somebody spoke about the Gen Zs, the Gen Xs, the Gen Ys, as though they're the client. But we're also not considering the fact that we are working alongside people who are across 4 or 5 generations. The way that they empathize for that same problem is very, very different. Okay. And train. We have to train our staff. Somebody else was speaking about training our staff. We really need to make sure that everybody understands the business critically. And I want to give you a personal example. As a young 22-year-old, I started selling cars. Okay. That's how I got into the insurance industry, by selling cars and then going into finance. And I sold my first car. I was 22 years old, and I'm running around. I've got the car. It's almost ready to go onto the delivery bay, but I need to put petrol in. Okay, I'd been there for 3 months as a sales cadet, which means that I did licensing and registration, servicing, everything. Okay, and I'm running around going, why can't I get my petrol slip to go fill up the car? What's going on? And I go up to Uncle Derek. Uncle Derek was one of those generational people, like 30 years older than me. Uncle Derek, when can I get my petrol slip? How does this work? He said, did you invoice the car? Like, what? I need to invoice the car? Let me tell you, I would have let that car go off the dealership floor unless somebody had said to me, you need to invoice it. Even though I'd been there for 3 months and they were telling me exactly what I needed to do, no clue that I had to invoice the vehicle. I did invoice the vehicle, so I was not fired. And hopefully that also keeps your staff engaged when they really, really understand the problem and that they're being heard, and also that they're getting the relevant training. Very cliched, I know, but I don't think it's ever enough to reiterate. So, there have been some really phenomenal speakers, and Barry put up the one video about the video that made us all cry. You know which one I'm talking about? And then it was Francois who put the other video up, the one that made us all want to go change our underpants. That one? Okay, well, I've got a Downton Abbey clip, guys. I'm just managing some expectation here. It's not nearly as spectacular as the other videos that were put on. So I don't know who of you know Downton Abbey, and this is a scene when they've actually just gotten electricity. Because what it's going to demonstrate is that sometimes we overlook that employee centricity is also very, very critical. And are we providing the right tools to our employees? And remember, I am the digital solutions manager, so I am biased towards thinking that everything is going to be solved with technology, even though I know it won't. But we really need to ensure that we are also making room for our employees to receive the right tools to be able to fix the problem for our customers. And if you aren't sure if you have the right tools, put up your hand if there's an Excel spreadsheet in your business that goes around from one person to the next, to the next, to the next, which has to be captured, and then it goes to the line manager. Trust me, if that's happening, we need some additional tools in the business. So I'm going to play this little video with regard to, I know, you're smiling because you actually got those Excel spreadsheets, don't you? Okay. So they've just installed electricity. The show actually starts off in 1912, between 1912 and 1930s. So this is the period.
Mama, I'm sorry. No one told me you were here.
Oh, such a glare. I feel as if I were on stage at the Gaiety.
We're used to it. I do wish you'd let me install it in the Dower House. It's very convenient. The man who manages the generator could look after yours as well.
No, I couldn't have electricity in the house. I wouldn't sleep a wink. All those vapours seeping about.
Even Cora won't have it in the bedroom. She did wonder about the kitchens, but I couldn't see the point.
Well, before anyone joins it.
So he did wonder about the kitchens, but he couldn't see the point. And I just thought that was fantastic because their entire staff component lives in the kitchens. All they do is eat in the show. And he just couldn't see the point of providing electricity to all the cooks and all the servicemen and the footmen and the underfootmen. Just couldn't see the point. So that's what I mean by making sure that we provide the right tools to our employees. So if we walk a mile in our customer shoes and our employee shoes, how do we improve customer centricity? And again, bear in mind, digital solutions, and it's about finding the convenience and efficient ways to do business. But we cannot assume that everything can or should be fixed with tech. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. Mobile apps being one of my pet peeves when it comes to certain ways to solution. What does your customer want? Solve my problem, listen to me, be proactive, give me convenience, show me empathy, and do it in time. Oh, Checkers 6060 just nails it on the head every single time. Okay? And this is what we really need to do for our customer. And if we think about it, can we actually do this for our employee as well? Can we solve because if we solve their problem, I can assure you we will solve our customer's problem as well. So digital transformation or enablement is often the key to meeting these requirements. Bear in mind that digital is a journey and all of us are on a very, very different journey. And again, I'm using Genesis because they were 25 years. We're in phase 1, which I'll talk to you in a moment. Where are we in terms of our adoption of solutions and digital tech? And who are the drivers in your business? And especially when it comes to the broker environment here, maybe you've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 people in your organization. There's no room to hire a digital solutions manager. But please don't throw it over the fence to somebody in marketing just because marketing has a bit to do with Facebook, okay? You need to have the right person in your organization who lives, sleeps, and breathes digital tech. Okay, it's really important that we do that. So let's just talk about these phases. We move from paper to platform. There's the 25 years. I was an F&I, finance and insurance manager at the dealership that I was at. That same system, 25 years later, is still the same system I worked on. And it involved the first automation of data, business reporting, as well as when we probably first got our websites, our first websites. Can remember that was the fashionable thing, hey? Everybody had to have a website. Phase 2 and phase 3 is where many of us find ourselves in. Some of us a little bit earlier than others, and it's where we currently are in our journey for most of us. It's the diffusion of platforms. It's talking from one system to another. And again, this has come up copious amounts of times, is really around self-service, and it's the DIY age and doing it in the customer's channel of choice. And the next step is utilization of AI, IoT, and big data, which Depeche Mode spoke about. Sorry, can I call you Depeche Mode? Sorry. Everybody gets a nickname. So let's just think about for a second ADAS. We all know advanced driving assistant systems. That is already affecting our business in terms of 4IR, because we have got lifers in our business, 25 years, who are now having to calibrate stuff on computers, these windscreens on computers. That changes our business fundamentally. So let's take a couple of steps back, because here are some blueprint items that you can do with your teams to help you to understand the problems that your customers are facing, and apply something which I'm sure many of you are aware of some design thinking. And it's the process for solving problems and to prioritize the consumer's needs above all else. This is a blueprint, guys. So it goes back to our question as who is responsible for this? And the understanding that we all have constant pressure to be able to innovate. And then also, the one thing that's really hard is to set aside our own preconceived ideas. Because the person who's in their 60s, who's going to sit around that table with you when you brainstorm, is going to go, I love using my phone. I love to talk to my person. And I'm going, oh my God, if somebody phones me one more time, I'm going to Platz. Okay, so we need to set aside our own preconceived ideas. So there are 5 steps to design thinking. This is what you can do in your business, in your Monday morning meeting. Get the team together, get people together, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. What does that mean? Do we understand the problem properly? Okay. So claims is a big issue for me. I had an experience with a broker who had a mobile app, and they said to me, Candy, I need to update my mobile app. Please, can you help me? And I said, okay, sure. What do you want to do? No. My claims handlers, they complain all the time. They have to do duplicate capture. So I want to be able to get my customer to download the app, and then they must capture everything, and then it must go into our policy administration system. I said, oh, really? It works for some businesses. I'm not saying it doesn't work it doesn't work. I'm saying it works for some businesses. The bigger you are, the more likely this will work. But your customer who claims once every 6 years does not want to download an app necessarily just to capture a claim. The issue, the problem, was not the customer's problem. It was the claims handler's problem. Which means that to do the same thing, you can use a different solution. And that's what I talk about, understanding the problem fundamentally. So let's go back to our agenda about how do our products and services stand out. First of all, when you're doing this and understanding the problem, please use data-driven decisions. Don't take it on the merit of somebody saying, but this is how it works. It's not how it works. Tell them to show you that that's what is actually happening. Because I can assure you, the laziest person is the one you actually want to find the answer from, because they will find the shortcut. Those are the ones you actually want to be talking to, okay? I'm that person. So make sure that you use data-driven decisions. If you go and look at the average age of your policyholder, use that information to make a decision about the channel that you want to use. Because if the average age is 20, you've got to do it this way. And if your average age is 50, you've got to do it this way. Okay. So this is something that you can do with your team, an actual blueprint, what you can do with your team. Don't solution first. First, understand your as-is process. Write down your as-is process. This is how my claims handler gets their information from the policyholder. This is my process. Then, what is the objective I actually want to achieve? I want to do this, and this is the objectives. I want the customer to have a nice journey. I want my employee to have a journey that says, I'm going to take away 5 minutes for every single claim that gets lodged, as an example. That's the objective. Then decide the user experience, and then decide the channel. The channel is the last thing that you look at, because you could deliver this through a mobile app, you could do it through WhatsApp, you could do it through an SMS responder. There are so many different ways that you could do it through. Choose the channel last. Okay. And when I say that as well, I'm saying don't solution your problem into a solution. The problem must present itself first. We do glass, you do insurance, and others just do digital solutions. Be wary of people selling you. If somebody comes to you and says, oh, we just do mobile apps and we do lots in the insurance industry. Don't then take your problem and squeeze it into the mobile app. Okay, it needs to happen the other way around. And suspend judgment when you are brainstorming. You know, outside of dealerships, they've got those flappy men. You know those balloon things? I don't know who came up with those, okay? I don't know if it, but this is one time when you can shoot it down, okay? The floppy men outside your insurance brokerage is not going to get customers through the door, okay? So do suspend judgment, but let people come up with 100 ideas, and it's okay to fail, 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 and fail again. Lastly, let's go back to our agenda and how do we simplify the process for our industry. Use self-service. It's come up over and over again, not just for your client, your policyholder, but as a service provider as well. Okay. This is the major focus for us as PG because it's 24/7, it's on demand, it's efficient, and it's user-guided. And it needs to be done on the channel of choice. So if somebody phones you, phone them back, but if somebody sends you a WhatsApp, then don't then put them onto a different channel. Work with one another. As industry, we are partners. Work with one another. Understand that we are all trying to innovate. And that doesn't mean that we'll all win, but what it does mean is that we're all trying. And we need to learn from one another and be curious. One of the things that I sometimes find is that somebody wants to implement something in the value chain, and then you've got one person who goes, I'm not going to load my apps over here because I don't want to, I've done it the other way for so long. Guys, let's try. Because in 5 years' time, we'll be doing something else. And in fact, not even in 5, in 2 years' time, we're going to be doing it some other way. Okay, so if there are people who dig their heels in your business, let's bring in the newbies, eh? That's all I'm saying. Remember, digital is simply an expedition. It's a ride, it's a wandering with no end. It doesn't finish. We have in 10 years' time, we'll be having the same discussion with a different set of solutions. Okay. The biggest part of our journey is changing the way we think. And lastly, on this journey, the big don't necessarily eat or beat the small, but the fast will beat the slow. Thank you.